Good morning and welcome back. And for those of you joining us for the first time today, I'm Thelma Barker, President of the Independent Telecommunications Pioneers Association, National Capital Chapter. Today, ITPA proudly presents its second installment of our monthly virtual event series in collaboration with the FAA. Today's Fens briefing is part of ITPA's ongoing and popular series of information exchange sessions, from in-person lunches to now remote sessions as part of our monthly virtual series. A little bit about ITPA NCC. The Independent Telecommunications Pioneers Association is a nonprofit professional association created by and for telecommunications professionals within the industry. Dedicated to community service, ITPA has been serving the public on behalf of telecom companies since 1920. We are proudly celebrating our 100th year. Our goal is to provide networking and learning opportunities with government and industry professionals. Our chapter has taken steps toward creating these opportunities for rising young professionals just getting started in their careers. This successful mentor-protege program helps foster new talent while expanding this local chapter. A little bit more about the local charities and the causes that ITPA NCC supports. Our local JDRF chapter helps support research in treating type 1 diabetes and development of new treatments. It provides an array of community activities and services to the type 1 diabetes population. The Capital Area Food Bank helps provide food assistance to those in need. The Capital Area Food Bank works to combat food insecurity by addressing the underlying contributing factors by providing job training, programs, and healthcare services. The USO of Metropolitan Washington, Baltimore is the largest chapter chartered by the USO with a strong tradition of service in the National Capital Region. 9 locations and a deployable mobile USO unit provide signature USO services to nearly 300,000 military members and their families living in the region. This past Monday, we held our annual golf tournament at the Army-Navy Country Club in Fairfax for our 10th consecutive year. We had an SMGA team of veterans and service members including those wounded or injured in post 9/11 military operations. The Salute Military Golf Association's mission is to provide rehabilitative golf programs, experiences, and family-inclusive golf opportunities to post 9/11 wounded war veterans in an effort to improve the quality of life for these American heroes. We are proud of our longstanding tradition of supporting the SMGA. Next slide, please. The weather was beautiful, although a bit windy for our golf tournament, and our participation turnout exceeded our expectations. It was very good to see friends and colleagues whom we have not in a while. A special thank you to the ITPA NCC Government and Industry Golf Committee co-chairs, Jason Brumfield of Lumen and Dave Cahoon of the U.S. House of Representatives, as well as the volunteers from SMGA, JDRF, and the USO. An additional thank you to our golf tournament sponsors, executive level sponsors, Lumen, Granite, Avaya, our platinum level golf tournament sponsors, Hughes, Cloud Warriors, and DH Tech, our gold golf sponsors, Equinix and Zayo, and our Patriot level sponsor, Amy Fedita Consulting. ITPA NCC is thrilled to recognize the contributions and support of all of our sponsors. Our event season sponsorships are as listed: Platinum sponsors, Comcast Government Services, Granite Communications, Hughes and Lumen. Our season gold sponsors: Avaya, Converge One, Mettel, Sus Consulting, and Verizon, as well as our silver sponsors: BJJ and Associates, Collab 9, Corning, Equinix, GBI, GES, and Turning Point. We are grateful for all of our ongoing sponsorship support. Now, a few quick items before we get started. We welcome our friends and our colleagues from the media. As a reminder, today's session is on the record. Mr. LaHood and Mr. Gardner will not take questions today due to the active procurement status. If you are having technical difficulties, please use the chat box in your toolbar to chat with our webinar host for assistance. And if you would like a copy of today's slide deck, please reach out to us at info@itpancc.org. And now, I would like to introduce our fellow ITPA board member and speaker committee co-chair, Eric Oakes. Eric, over to you.
Thank you, Thelma. Hello, everyone. It is my distinct honor to introduce today's keynote speakers. Mr. Joe LaHood is a recognized senior program manager and engineer for large complex systems for the FAA and the US Navy. Ensuring the safety of the American flying public is what drives Mr. LaHood and his acquisition successes. His achievements stem from his years as an F-16 fighter pilot with the DC Air National Guard and commercial airline pilot experience with American Airlines. Over the last 20 years, Mr. LaHood has been employed by the FAA and is currently serving as the program manager for the $3.5 billion FAA Enterprise Network Service procurement, the largest acquisition in the FAA and part of the Communications Information Network Programs Program Management Office. Fens will provide highly available and secure communications, information services, and network capabilities vital to National Airspace System operations and agency administration. Mr. Todd Gardner has more than 20 years of engineering experience for the FAA in the area of air traffic control systems communications. Todd currently serves as the lead engineer on the FAA Fens program, guiding the technical aspects of the Fens acquisition. Prior to his work on Fens, he was the technical lead on the FAA's TDM to IP efforts. Additionally, he has worked with the FAA Telecommunications Infrastructure Program since its transition in the early 2000s and the LINKS program before that, both in engineering and operations. Over to you, Mr. LaHood.
Thanks, Eric. Thelma, appreciate it. So I'm going to start out and then I'll turn it over to Todd when it starts to get a little technical. Appreciate the opportunity. As everyone should know, is that we do have an active, we call it a screening information request out on Beta SAM. People are putting their proposals together. The due date for those submissions is in January. So we are talking about it, but at the same time, we're just talking mostly about what's already out in the screening information requests that you've seen, and then some other stuff around schedules and FAA specific stuff. So we can jump right in with the first slide. Just as the agenda here. Give a little overview of Fens. Talk a little bit about the RFP/SIR that we have. Some of the activities that we're working on, because you know, while we wait for the proposals to come in, there's things that we need to start preparing for, that the activities itself around the proposal evaluation, and then also kind of because it's such a big transition for us to move after the contracts actually award some of those activities as well. So next slide. So this is a single sentence, which is required in a lot of our documentation to describe the Fens program. It's basically the solution for the FAA telecommunications, all the FAA telecommunications, and it's going to align with commercial communication services and emerging technology. So it is a services acquisition. So we intend, similar to the contract that it's replacing, Fens is a service program or a service contract that's going to be awarded and give us all of our telecommunications contractor owned and contractor operated. And we want to align with industry because that's where we're headed in these contracts, because they're so large and the transition so expensive and so hard to kind of change that these contracts can tend to get awarded for the maximum allowable time that government contracting allows for. So a lot is behind that statement, but that's basically a single sentence definition of what Fens is. Next. So being critical to the FAA's future, obviously, you know, the FAA does a lot of, you know, our primary mission in the FAA, at least for their traffic organization, is to deliver passenger safety, deliver air traffic control for the flying public as they travel around the country, which has been kind of muted over the last 9 months, as people can imagine, but it's still a big thing, and safety never goes away, even if there's only one flight going on. So all of those associated, highly available, secure communications, there's a lot of them. We have a lot of radios, the information services, the systems changing information, and even amongst the aviation-related industry partners that we call them, there's a lot of communications and information services between them as well. And this contract is going to go through at least 2035. So it covers all the national airspace system, which is basically all the airspace over the U.S., all the operations, and then all of the administrative type stuff. So emails and training and all the other things that we use, that any government agency uses to get their job done. Being the key to the future, basically, you know, integrating data, systems, and people, that's the kind of buzzword, the where everything is headed. That's everything's really designed in that, with that regard. It's not the way the FAA systems, because some of them are significantly older than me. So, you know, the ability to kind of move towards that as we upgrade our systems, as we deploy new systems, they'll be designed more in this vein. And the ones that we've developed over the last decade or so have all been kind of in that same vein. But network enabled, you know, some of the cloud stuff, some of the, you know, push-pull, data exchange type stuff, all of that network enabled are things that the Fens program is going to get us. Not that we don't have it today, it's just, you know, we're moving, it's not all there, and not all of our systems are there today, and our network is basically working in both worlds now. In the future, it will be all that one world. And then I talked a little bit already about the managed service framework. So, you know, right now, or in the past, in Lynx, for example, way back when, the FAA negotiated directly with all of the carriers and got the services that we need. And, you know, and then we did all the engineering on top of that. The idea here is which it already is, again, on the existing contract, but hoping to go more that way. The example I use is, instead of saying, you know, here's a connection I need, and, you know, here's the equipment associated with it, and the line, and the characteristics of that line, and the maintenance and everything else, I'll say, here's a system, and I want them to talk to one another. And if those connections change, or, you know, things change or whatever, hoping that, you know, under a managed service framework, that some of that at least will be a little easier to kind of move over and transition in the FAA and get more to the business of what it is that we do, which is, you know, the flying public and all that kind of stuff. So that's, again, another real high level kind of talk about Fens. Next slide. And so now Todd, Dr. Gartner, is much more knowledgeable about all this stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and then I'll close it out with the last.
Yeah, so I think, so what you see here is just kind of a picture of just how distributed the National Airspace System is. We have approximately 4,500 sites spread across the country, and Alaska and Hawaii and the islands. And we have around 28,000 services. It serves about 200 different systems. Many of those are proprietary air traffic control systems. And of course, it serves the CONUS, OCONUS, and international locations. About 75% of our sites are in remote locations, and this could be anything from cornfields to mountaintops. Many of those sites are not manned sites, and so they're basically unmanned locations. And then, of course, it serves everything from our largest automation systems all the way to web surfing and email. So, next slide. Some of the attributes that we've used to define Fens for the NAS include, probably first and foremost, safety critical operations. In any one given day, we could have 5,000 planes in the air, and so safety critical operations are certainly our hallmark. Highly available and secure communications for the entire FAA. Dedicated telecommunications, so our NAS is slow to modernize, and so we still have approximately 21,000 TDM-based services, along with a couple thousand IP-based services. That our infrastructure also includes satellite, microwave type components, as well as a WiMAX-based component called Aeromax. Of course, security is important to us. Our telecommunications network and Fens is being recategorized as FISMA High, and so and along with that comes all of the controls that would go with a FISMA High system, and then finally IP-based solutions. As the NAS matures and moves forward, all of our systems are eventually going to move to some type of IP-based interfaces and communications. And so with that comes great features for us, but with that also comes vulnerabilities that we're not accustomed to. And so I think that's it on that slide. Next slide, please. So some of the innovation that we're really hoping to see with Fens is is performance and flexibility. I think with a modern network, flexibility is a key benefit that we're hoping to achieve. Things like dynamic bandwidth and the ability to order services quickly and move services around and things like that. We hope that it makes our entire operating model a much more flexible model. Resilience and security. I spoke a little bit about that on the last slide, but as far as resilience goes, whenever things like hurricanes and earthquakes and things like that happen to our country, one of the things that we typically have to do is respond to be able to get air traffic control up as soon as possible. And in fact, frequently the actual response to the event itself is depending on our ability to get planes in and out of the area. So resilience is certainly important to us. And I talked about security on the last slide, the movement to FISMA High and a more secure environment. Situational awareness. I think one of the things we're really hoping to achieve is enhance situational awareness of our network and our service capabilities. I think that with modern networks, there's a lot more information out there related to network visibility, and so we're hoping to be able to take advantage of that. And then, of course, as we go on around dynamic bandwidth, I kind of mentioned this when I talked about flexibility. We've got requirements in Fens for dynamic bandwidth services and extremely fast deployment services. And that kind of goes to our next bullet there, which is faster provisioning. We're planning to have a service catalog under Fens, and inside that catalog, if the infrastructure exists, the ability to deploy services in as little as hours. And then finally, efficiencies. As more Ethernet is deployed into the telecommunications infrastructure, we would expect that kind of the price per bit would fall over time, and eventually make it a more efficient operation for us. So I think that's it on that slide. I think I'll hand this back to Joe.
All right, so this is kind of some of the highlights of the SIR that we've put out. It's a best value award that's the FAA is a little unique in the way that it does some of the contracting and acquisition activities. But best value is one that's not unique, but some of the stuff I am talking about will be a little bit unique. It's going to be a single award. That's the anticipated thing. We will have oral presentations to include a sample problem, which, you know, we've not given the sample problem out, and the participating vendors are going to anticipate. Again, this is all in the SIR. If you were to go in and read it, you'll see that it's anticipated that there will be a sample problem, maybe more than one. There is an optional demonstration also. The period of performance that we're talking about right now is a 15-year period of performance. So, you know, those are the characteristics of this SIR that we've put out. And again, you can read all of this. These are just some that I pulled out, kind of just high-level things that are in the SIR itself. The timeline itself, again, these are all information that you can draw from the website. It's all on beta SAM now. It used to be faaco.gov, FACO. We've switched over to beta SAM, which is the site that all government acquisition and contracting opportunities are placed. But they also piped over everything that was there before. So all this should be on there. So we had a draft screening information, RFP, screening. I say SIR, okay? So if you hear me say SIR, that means RFP. It was our fourth version of that, was released in May of this year. So I originally had draft SIR 3 go out about a year ago, and thought that was going to be the final one. And then we had some changes that we put in, and so we put out another one. It took us 6 months to add those changes. So we're basically about a year later than I would have thought. If you'd asked me 18 months ago, which I'm not sure if I briefed this group then or not, but that's one of the reasons we're a little late. There were some requirements changes, and if you want to know what they are, please go look at draft SIR 3, draft SIR 4, and you'll see what they are. We released the final in September, 2 months ago, and like I said, the proposals right now, it's scheduled to come back on January 15th. That's Joe LaHood being nice. That's actually 120 days. We originally thought it was going to be 90 days, which would have made it December 15th. So I said, no, we can't do that. And there's other people. I wasn't the only one. Said, hey, you can't have proposals due right in the middle of the holidays. And we expect about a year to get all the things done that we need to get done. So we expect that award early in 2022 calendar year. Again, that's the only one that's not in the SIR itself. But again, it's expected. That's generally about how long it takes. It's a pretty big program, a lot of stuff that needs to happen, a lot of approvals need to occur, and there's obviously a lot of logistical type stuff just from the award perspective that has to happen. So a year is actually, I don't know if it's nominal even, that might even be a little bit optimistic. So we'll see, but it should be no later than the spring of next 2022. So that's, again, me speculating. Can't hold me to it. Speculate. That's what we're expecting. That's what we get out. So next slide. So current activities, if you're wondering, kind of what's going on in the Fens program. So we are preparing for that source selection. So if the proposals come back in January, we'll be doing that source selection. And I just want to kind of throw out there that we do have the best and brightest, not just at the FAA, but across the government, across academia, the telco, but obviously you can't have any sort of conflict, right, or appearance of conflict. So it's not like we're going out to the world and saying, hey, give us your best and brightest, because sometimes those best and brightest are actually on the teams that are submitting proposals, and that we can't have that as part of the source selection. But we are preparing for that. We're getting all of the training done and, getting everybody up to speed and figuring out how it's all going to work, all those specifics that, you can say you're going to do an evaluation and your screening information request, but then how you actually do it, the actual systems that you're going to use and, the specific, how all those teams are going to interact and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're prepping for that, and we're getting everything done. As I talked about the transition to Fens, from where we are today. And again, this is including, not a lot of deviation, the possibility that there's not a lot of deviation from what we have, because we don't know what that future Fens is going to look like. We're trying to keep it as low risk as we can, but we're exploring things that we know we're going to need to do, whether it's, teams going out to the facilities and overseeing things or doing site surveys, all of that kind of stuff. These things require a lot of planning on our part, a lot of staffing on our part, even though it is a managed service-based contract. There's still, a lot that we need to kind of be there with, right? Those facilities they're not just sitting in a field by themselves. They are locked with fences and gates and everything else. So there's all that kind of stuff. We're working with the field staff. Again, that's part of that transition stuff, is working with them, trying to anticipate where things are going to be and what we're trying to do as much as we can. We have no idea. I mean, we have some idea, but we don't have a clear idea of what the architecture is going to look like, how the transition is going to be planned and executed and everything else. But we're trying to kind of anticipate that, because the FAA field staff has things that they do on a regular basis, keeping the systems themselves operating, and there's technology upgrades and everything going on all the time. So they've got their jobs and what they do, and they plan them pretty far out in the future. So, just working with the field and trying to anticipate where and what we need in the future. And then the other lines of business, this is the means by which all of the FAA systems talk with one another from a comm perspective. So, dealing with those lines of business, if there is a system that's getting ready to do a major deployment and it coincides somewhere along the way, or some facilities where Fens will be doing its transition as well, or there's a tech refresh, all that kind of stuff. So coordinating internally the FAA, other lines of business, making sure they understand what they're doing. And back to that first activity that we're doing, getting these people in the room, how do you feel, what's your expertise or experience when it comes to deploying a system, if you're comm heavy or you have experience with comm related type design decisions and whatever else, come into the room with us, help us kind of explore the from a source selection perspective, and kind of bring your expertise to that. So again, reaching out across the entire agency, across the government, and even outside the government to external experts, again, without the conflict. So that's kind of what the activities that are going on right now. It's a little quiet for us, which is a good time. It's actually, if I could have picked the time of year for that for us. I know it's busy, and January 15th for proposals to be submitted, and so people will be working over the holidays, and I feel bad about that. But for us, it's good because we have time to, get all these things done at a quiet time of year as far as normal systems deployment and stuff like that, and the agency and the things that we do in our business of acquisition. Next slide. So this is a real high level. Obviously, this has got a lot of detail in our detailed loaded up work schedules that we have. But, this is kind of going back to, second quarter calendar year. So this spring, we were working on some stuff, and we got the final SIR out in the third quarter of the calendar year. We're still in this investment analysis phase. For those that don't know, the FAA acquisition management system has, the stages of their acquisition, and the investment analysis is the actual get things done phase. There's a couple different milestones within there. We are in the final investment phase. We've passed the initial investment decision, and now we're in the final investment phase. And this is the one where we get approval to actually deploy. So that decision is still years away, even after the contract's implemented. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But we're in that investment analysis phase. We are, we released the final SIR, and we're going to evaluate the bids, and then that final investment decision that allows for the deployment in the National Airspace System, in the NAS. That's all going to occur, and we anticipate that's all going to conclude somewhere around the end of next year, end of 21, right? So it takes about a year. And then we'll move in 22 at some point. If it's first quarter, I hope, that's what I'm hoping for. We'll enter into the solution implementation phase. So the requirements will be, finalized, and the solution will be reviewed and coordinated. And, if there are any different things that need to be worked on or things that have changed since the SIR was released. That's one of the things that happens a lot. And we start building up our test plan and getting it validated. We enter into, that in-service decision, which is the one where we'll start deploying, and that coincides at the same time with the final, somewhere around that final investment and deployment decision. Next. So I apologize for being so high level and vague. It's kind of a sensitive time for us as far as, where we are with the SIR out on the street. I had to stick with kind of what's public information. Anybody can go to Beta SAM and look at the SIR, and that's really what I showed here. Somewhat of a schedule, but it's nothing really, too detailed, because again, some of those activities that are going to occur will be affected by the best value award that happens with whoever the winner ends up being. There's really not a lot else I can talk about. Todd, did I miss anything? I think we gave a pretty good overview here. Todd, you want to chime in? All right. I appreciate.
Sorry about that. I had to find my mute button. No, I think I think that's a pretty good overview of what we are. So.
Yep, Todd's one of those far side guys. He's got his PhD in engineering, but he's pushing on a door that says "pull to open." Doesn't know two mute buttons. Come on. All right. Thanks, Thelma. Thanks to Eric. Thanks to everybody that's listening. I appreciate it. It's a good opportunity. We're happy to come back once the proposals get in. Again, I'll be rather vague, but maybe we got some updates on some of the transition activities. Maybe some of the other stuff's going to come around. So I like this forum. I think it's great. It's unfortunate we can't meet and greet and shake hands and talk to each other and all that kind of stuff. So it feels a little cold and isolated. I can't even look through the screen to see who might be on the screen there. So, I do see participants.
Joe,
yes.
And Todd, thank you. We all understand what's going on, the current environment, and ITPA NCC is grateful for you coming on and spending a little bit of time with us today. Our audience, as well as our organization, are fully aware of the status of your active procurement. And so we were just pleased that you would come on and share some information, some that people were already aware of, some may not have been. And so it's always good to get together, whether we're able to do so in person or not. And we will certainly take you up on your offer to come back. After proposals are submitted. We're always open for updated information. We could not go through the question and answer period today, but we're always thirsty for information and desire this exchange between government and industry. So we thank you for what you were able to do today.
Thank you very much, Thelma, and I appreciate it. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And if I could have the audience join me in a round of applause for our guest speakers. Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about a few more items for ITPA NCC. Last year, during our annual holiday luncheon, we raised contributions and funds from over 100 of our luncheon participants for the USO Project ELF charity, which ensures that our military veterans and their families and children have a memorable Christmas and holiday season. And the USO's Project ELF is a signature USO program, Metro program, through which companies, organizations, families, and the community at large register to sponsor a family through by selecting and providing gifts from the children's custom wish list. And this year, we're looking to help out more than ever, as many families have been directly affected by challenging circumstances brought on by the global pandemic. This year, ITPA NCC will be matching contributions now between now and December 4th up to $3,000. So we're asking you to open your hearts and your pocketbooks as you have in the past. And you'll be able to find a link to donate in our About Us tab on our website. Additionally, if you have questions about donations, we're happy to assist. Just contact us at info@itpancc.org. I'd like to highlight our Mentor Protege program I referenced earlier. And you'll have an opportunity to meet the 3 mentor proteges that we have on our ITPA NCC board this season next month. But we have Nithya from SUS Consulting, we have Ben from Granite, and we have Alvin from GES. They've been an integral part of supporting ITPA NCC this season, and they are also a part of our STEM initiative. These are programs that you'll be hearing more about in the upcoming months. Lastly, a special thanks again to all of our season sponsors. We greatly appreciate you. Our platinum sponsors, Comcast Government Services, Granite Communications, Hughes, and Lumen. Our gold sponsors, Avaya, Converge One, Metel, SUS Consulting, and Verizon, as well as our silver sponsors, BJJ and Associates, Collab 9, Corning, Equinix, GBI, GES, and Turning Point. Thank you again to everyone that participated in this year's golf tournament. A special ITPA thanks to our speakers, sponsors, and all of our special attendees. ITPA NCC will continue to hold an array of events as part of our monthly virtual series throughout 2020 and 2021. Email us at info@itpancc.org for a copy of today's slide presentation. Today's recording will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel and posted on our website. Visit our website today to donate and help ensure that our local families of armed forces have a wonderful holiday season this year through Project ELF. For the latest chapter updates and developments, follow us on our social media. Thank you again for joining us today. We'll give you a few minutes back into your busy schedules. Please stay safe and have an amazing day. See you next month.